let's check a video called Worst Metas in League of Legends History, you know? My question is, will my boy Athlete cover the goddamn proxy Master Yi with 4 supports meta? Because at one time, that was a thing, where solo lanes would have 4 supports and jungle Master Yi. That was disgusting.
Today, we're going to talk about some of the worst metas that League of Legends has
That it is.
ever seen. Starting with one of the earliest broken metas in the game's history, Season 2's Black Cleaver meta. Sometimes
Oh yeah, back in Season 2, if you didn't build Black Cleaver, it doesn't matter what champion are you playing, you're trolling. I'm pretty sure there was a video where my boy Dyrus built 5 fucking Black Cleavers and went 1v9.
referred to as League of Cleavers. It's hard to identify exactly why Black Cleaver meta reared its head.
Hold on, I will remove the chat for a second. It's like, pay attention to items. My guy is cooking already.
But looking back, most players can agree it was due to the stackable nature of items during the earlier seasons.
True.
Items could be bought multiple times without any reduction in stats or
Yeah. Like, Riot unironically should bring this back. I miss having 4 Infinity Edges, Phantom Dancer, and Swifties on my fucking Garen. Just saying.
effectiveness, leading to bruisers stacking and abusing Black Cleaver, which gave upwards of 3,000 health, 40% maximum cooldown reduction, 300 attack damage, 80 flat armor penetration on top of percent armor penetration. Bruisers were walking around with 4,000 HP, 500 to 600 AD, and all of the armor pen they could ever dream of. In a meta where many community members previously considered building armor items to be quite powerful, there was no room for other classes to be picked, as a Black Cleaver was the only item that was needed for players to find success. Even support and mage champions ended up giving into the Black Cleaver hysteria, with champions like Jaina adapting Black Cleaver into their build, and tier lists being created with physical damage dealers with Black Cleaver on top, mages with Black Cleaver in the middle, and
No, that's a lot accurate Season 2 item tier list.
champions who didn't build Black Cleaver on the bottom. This meta was eventually phased out fairly quickly with the introduction of unique passives. But it took Riot a much longer time to phase out one of the most memorable metas to date, Season 7's Ardent Sensor meta.
Oh, that, yeah.
On its release, Ardent Sensor wasn't anything special, because just another enchanter-focused item to give their ADCs a bit of extra power. The item was good, but it was overshadowed by more powerful support items at the time, like Locket of the Iron Solari and Sightstone. This all changed in patch 7.2 when Riot buffed Ardent Sensor, nearly doubling the stats that it provides on a healed or shield target, unlocking an entirely new playstyle. And
I mean, what can go wrong if we double the fucking stats of a basic item?
shifting the meta completely to something nobody would have expected. The effect on the meta that this change would have would become painfully evident during Worlds 2017.
True.
Team comps were built entirely around bot lane hypercarries like Varus, Xayah, and Twitch, and who could enable their ADC more through bulky frontlines, control mages, and enchanters who could build Ardent Sensor like Janna and Lulu. Games were played around and decided by a single champion on each team, and no other role mattered except for the AD carries. Through a combination of community outrage and the glaringly stale and broken meta that these changes would bring, the conclusion of Worlds 2017 meant that Riot would finally nerf Ardent Sensor and put an end to one of the most infamous and PTSD-inducing metas to date. While it took Riot a whole 15 patches to even touch Ardent Sensor, everybody was excited for Season 2023 to finally shake things up. But what we ended up with was months and months of the same stale, grueling meta, Zeri Lulu, Lucian Nami. These two bot lane duos dominated the meta in what pro players, casters, analysts, and co-streamers would call one of the most boring metas League of Legends has ever seen.
Yep.
The lack of change and innovation in the Season 13 preseason meant that not a lot changed between the previous World Championship and patch 13.1.
But I mean, at the end of the day, we can all collectively agree that Season 13 was literally one of the worst seasons we ever had. First of all, we had no cinematic, then we had absolutely no changes, and literally pro scene was built around Lulu, Zeri, and fucking Yumi. So you know, kinda boring. You've seen one game, you've seen them all. Simple as that.
Leading pro players to collectively agree that this is how the game should be played and optimized. Pro play had become both teams handshaking these two bot lane duos alongside tank junglers like Maokai and Vi, and control mages in the mid lane such as Azir, Ahri, and Victor. It would be months and months of the same 15 champions being recycled and redrafted before innovation by top players T1, Kyria, and Gumayushi would eventually shake up the meta single-handedly with picks like Ashe, Caitlyn, and even Kalista support. This innovation would last well into Season 13, but it would take a lot more to shift the meta away from the gold funneling meta that we saw back in Season 8. The term...
Also, in that previous meta with ADCs as support, I missed Senna as a support because that thing was borderline broken with the support item that's procced with fucking ranged auto attacks. That was fun. And yeah, the most disgusting meta ever. The fucking funnel mastery with 4 supports.
Gold funneling refers to teams trying to give all their gold to one player on the team, usually the jungler, in hopes that they become strong enough to take over the game on their own. Instead of traditional mage or assassin mid laners, teams would draft an additional support champion in the mid lane like Taric, Braum, or Nunu, and a hyper carry jungler like Master Yi, Kai'Sa, or Karthus. Junglers would initially start the game normally, clearing jungle camps as fast as possible so that they could walk mid lane and pick up additional waves to skyrocket their gold income far above other champions in the game. Due to the discrepancy in gold and EXP, opposing junglers would have to sit there in silence, watching as the enemy counterpart takes over the game. What started out as a solo queue elo boosting strategy would later bleed into pro play, with even Faker playing Taric mid lane to funnel his jungler's Master Yi. SKT would then get a taste of their own medicine when Kingzone Dragon X utilized the Xayah Rakan jungle mid duo against them in LCK Summer 2018. Changes to jungler items later caused gold income to be reduced if a jungler had killed too many lane minions.
Sad. Honestly, one of the worst changes, not gonna lie. I mean, I understand its appeal for the pro scene, but bro, if I'm taxing someone, let's say I'm taking a cannon minion and I'm receiving only 20 gold for a format, you know? Not only does that tilt my Vayne ADC, because I smited that cannon right in front of her, but we both know the value of gold is diminished because of my penalty from the jungler item, you know?
Leading to this strategy becoming an obsolete shell of its former self. Much like the horrendous mistake that was the roaming support top lane strategy of
It's always the fucking Janta Pro.
Season 12. One of the common complaints about top lane in Season 12 was the lack of impact that the role had on the game. With repeated nerfs to teleport and a heavy jungle and bot lane centric meta, top laners were left feeling neglected. Here's where the smite support top strategy of early Season 12 comes into play. Top laners would begin picking champions like Janna or Lulu with smite and roam around the map the entire game. Starting from level 1, the smite support top strategy involved invading the enemy jungler, smiting their camps away from them, ganking endlessly, and doing anything they could do to get their team ahead except for going top lane. With the lack of impact top laners had during this time, the lost gold and EXP from being down a solo laner was felt much less than the impact that constant gank pressure and jungle invades gave the team.
And people say that Teemo top lane is kinda cancer. Nah. Janna top lane was cancer.
Strategy was initially deemed troll, but later it would catch on even at the highest tiers of play, working its way through tier 2 leagues and eventually even seeing action in the LCS, LCK, and LEC. It wasn't until Riot finally reworked the objective bounty system, nerfed gold generation from support items, and restricted smite usage that this strategy finally died down.
Sad.
But one strategy that seems to never die is the dreaded tank meta that rears its head.
Yeah, the moment we're getting tank meta, the game becomes borderline boring. I'm pretty sure it was last year when we had meta when you are roasting Baron with the boys because all 5 players on your team have fucking Sunfire. But I'm pretty sure there's even a meme. Hold on, give me a second.
Had every season or two. Tank meta has occurred numerous times throughout the history of League of Legends, but what we'll focus on here is the tank meta that occurred in the middle seasons throughout 2015 to 2017.
Yeah, because in season 2, 3, and 4, we had the most fun. Then they removed all of that fun because everyone was one-shotting everyone because we still had items like DFG, Static Shiv, the proper Static Shiv, Gunblade, Yeah, we had the fun items. Then they swapped all of it and introduced the tank meta. I don't remember the last time we had such disgustingly slow games because literally everyone was a tank.
Throughout this period, tanks were undisputedly one of the strongest classes in the game, with items like the newly introduced jungle items Cinder Hulk, Sunfire Cape, Frozen Heart, Frozen Gauntlet, and Spirit Visage all being core tank items at the time. While these items were quite strong, it wasn't until Preseason 6 that Riot would introduce a new mastery system to Summoner's Rift, giving tanks access to the Keystone Grasp of the Undying, allowing tanks to fully itemize into health and durability stats while also being able to keep up in damage due to this new Keystone, which both heal for 1.5% of a champion's maximum HP while also dealing 3% of their health in pure damage. With just 2 items, most commonly Sunfire Cape and Spirit Visage, tanks would have access to nearly 200 armor and magic resist, 3000 health, loads of cooldown reduction, and scaling damage on their auto attacks thanks to Grasp of the Undying.
This is perfectly fine, not gonna lie.
Even champions that were commonly built as assassins like Fizz and Echo would eventually start speccing into tank items.
Oh yeah, Tank Fizz. Now that was some next level cancer. Oh my god, yeah, that was a memory I didn't know I had. That was a painful memory.
And finding more success than ever before. Combined with the fact that tank busting items weren't in a great spot at the time, this led to hilariously long tank duels and unkillable raid boss moments, where tanks would survive multiple spell rotations from fed enemy carries and eventually win out in a war of attrition due to their sustain and overall durability.
Also, let's not forget the Red Cane tank full healing with Yumi incident.
As strong as tanks were during this time, it was the eventual release of Ornn, perhaps the strongest tank in the history of League of Legends, that was the eventual downfall of tank meta, as tanks would receive numerous nerfs across the board, while other classes like mages, marksmen, and assassins would receive plenty of new buffs, items, and updates. While currently tanks are in a much healthier state than in earlier seasons, few things are as inevitable as an upcoming tank meta. And it's only a matter of time before we'll all be having the same conversations as before. Thank you for watching LoLAthlete. We hope to see you in the next video.
Well, on one hand, if tank meta shows up right now, we have items that literally deal with the percentage maximum HP, so that's good. On the other hand, now I'm thinking about the ability power side, those guys removed true damage from fucking Riftmaker. So, you know, if the tank meta comes back, which it probably should come back, I'm pretty sure we should be seeing true damage return to some items. No? Just saying. Anyway, that's the video.